I got a bit of an update on this fella here. Ignore all the straw. I removed part of the housing and blew out some old nests that existed in there. So some good news. I laid under there yesterday just before our crazy storm rolled in. And I was able to bend some of those power steering lines. Now what I've effectively done is made enough clearance to have that arm work underneath where I think it was originally supposed to. So forward and reverse should be able to be activated without too much fuss. So now the next part of the project is to make a new, I think it's called bell crank, and see, it doesn't quite line up. It should be lined up something like this, but the holes are totally opposite and spun around, and maybe it would work like that, but everything's going to interfere. It's supposed to be. Anyways, I'm going to try to make a bell crank and make it a little bit wider so I clear the brake line here. But let me get started. I think I'm going to have to do a bit of drilling and fabricating and figuring to make something go there. But I'm confident we can make something happen. Rotor. You take off the tube. Today. Alright, so this was the old bell crank that was originally on the tractor. This is the new one that I've created. So pulling it back engages forward, and this would be engaging reverse. So everything operates smooth as it should, and I think it's built pretty solid, so it shouldn't be an issue with any premature failure in this case. Let's see the lineup on it here. I have to go from here to this pin, so that looks pretty good for an inside raceway, and I think I can clear a bolt head pretty easily. This one goes to the outside, so again I think the bolt on the outside will be just about where it needs to go. I think it's going to work just awesome. So next I got to make a link, figure a length, determine where I got to drill, because the closer to the center I drill, the faster it's going to want to pull. So let's figure this out. I did a bit of extra clearancing on the bottom of the bell crank, just to be sure that I'm not going to have any issues with clearance. So now what I'm doing is using one of the old pieces of rod that I whipped up once upon a time to just get a guesstimate of the length that I'm going to have to use. Also to sort of test the theory of where I can put the link to make sure that when the pedal is pressed there's enough travel to activate that gear. So I'm going to play with this for a few minutes, and I'll update you guys momentarily. So I managed to cut out a rough shape. It's cut out of wood, plywood. But what this proves is the function of what I was trying to accomplish. And it also makes sure that I've got enough clearance for everything to operate without interfering. So this is good. That means my forward link is now designed and ready. Now I'm just going to finalize the lower, the reverse style link. I'm going to just probably shorten this up and play with some lengths and see what works good, and then I'll just hack one out of plywood just the same way, and we'll go from there. But so far so good. The real question is, how much clearance am I going to need to make for the reverse link to work properly, because I think it's going to need a bit more than that on the rotation, so I might have to cut into this a little bit more just to make it fit nice, but it shouldn't be too much hassle. remade the rear or the forward connecting link. I just didn't like the way it interfered, so I made this one up. Seems to work a little bit better now. And the drive engages. Click. Push further to get throttle. Perfect for forward. Reverse. Push for reverse. Engages reverse. It binds a little bit. It happens quickly. But I don't think you want to have the throttle jam in on reverse either. It actually reaches its limit pretty quickly. But I feel like with your foot, you could always add some extra throttle if it came into being needed. So I think those are the shapes I'm actually going to cut out of steel. So now I've got some functioning templates. So let's go from there. So I've turned my templates into steel, of course using the only tool that I had capable of the job, because the jigsaw blades that I had were junk. So these are rough cut, clearly, with a Sawzall. I'm going to finish them up on the table grinder, a bench grinder, and get them nice and clean and looking as much like these templates as possible. And then we're going to drill some clearance holes and get into installing them. I need a couple of snap rings, and I've got to bolt the hardware in place and probably put some paint on, yada yada yada. Here's where we left off yesterday, just as the battery died on the GoPro. I've made a forward and reverse link, 1/4 inch steel. So now I have to shape them so they actually look like the templates that I made. These were just super rough cuts and about the best that I could do with the Sawzall, because that was the only suitable blade that I had at the time. So now they definitely need to be cleaned and made ready for the purpose. So now I'm going to get the bench grinder out, and we're going to clean those up and make them look pretty. I've got them a little bit cleaned up from the angle grinder, so now it's time to finish the job with the overheated bench grinder. Once I get them polished up and ready to go, then I think it's time to drill some holes. And then I can worry about putting it all back together. Another test fit. After that, we can probably start considering some paint too, just to keep this thing from weathering too quickly. And I'm going to get grinding. Alrighty, so if I hit reverse, my linkage pops up and reverse is activated. If I hit forward, we're engaged. Sweet. Now, I need to add a few washers just to snug everybody up so they stay in place. Some snap rings need to go on the ends of these pins to keep the arms from wanting to walk away. It looks like if I add washers on the face of both, it'll push them where I want them to be. And then here, maybe just one washer behind the stud and a lock ring or snap ring, and then we're laughing. I think this needs a little bit of a test drive first though. I'll lift it off the ground, the back tires, and we'll just see if the drive engages. Definitely able to make that linkage work. It took me a couple of days of playing around, but it's kind of tricky after working on the weekends and between the inclement weather, all the rain we've had. So, one step in the right direction to getting that project going. Now at least it can go and stop safely. That was a big part of it. Now that that's done, next task. The next task, I think, with that machine is probably going to be related to all the leaks that are currently present with the hydraulics. Addressing those will certainly make that a more reliable machine. Because once I get a chance to kind of go through and pick away at those leaks, then I don't have to add fluid every time I want to fire it up. One of the projects I have to do is make space in this barn just to be able to use it again. It'll happen. I think I should be able to park the backhoe right inside. Maybe I'll have to modify this doorway a little bit. Looks pretty tall. Yeah, we'll give it a whirl. That entrance is a little taller. Maybe that spot's made for the backhoe in there. We'll see. Anyway, time for me to clean up. Thank you guys again for watching. I really appreciate it. And you know, anything you want to do, if you want to ask any questions or leave a comment or a like or something like that, I do appreciate it. It does go a long way. Like, I don't do this YouTube thing just for any monetary reason. It's because I enjoy it and I like sharing stuff that I do. And if you guys like seeing it, you like watching along with me, if you like kind of seeing the projects that I get myself into all the time, I've always seemed to got lots of those. You know, a simple like or a comment goes a long way. It tells me that I'm doing something that's entertaining for you, and that's kind of what I'm looking to do. Just share a bit of my experience, what I'm doing, and hope that someone else might share some common interest with me. I know there's a couple of you that are regulars. And my first couple comments and first couple likes on every video I seem to upload, regardless of the content, and that really is a nice feeling. You know, I'm sorry I make you guys wait so long in between uploads. But, like I said, timing isn't always the easiest thing to work around. And work is only now getting into the busy season again, with summer here, so it makes it difficult sometimes. Not even sure if I'm going to get a chance to take any time off this year, but it doesn't matter. We'll see. Last year I took time off, I put that Pontiac together and got it on the road. At least I made use of my time. But thanks again for watching. Hopefully we'll see you on the next one. Cheers.